Hello, everyone. Welcome to the premiere episode of a segment on my channel that I'm calling "Adventures Tales of Collecting." It's where I want to take either a piece of my collection or something that happened in the terms of collecting and share a story about it. There are some parts of what I've collected over the years, or um, things I've done in the pursuit of collecting that's a little bit more exciting than just going to Walmart or Target and finding it on the shelf and picking it up. Um, and today is one of its this is a very special episode for the first one here, and it is uh, going to be about Gung-Ho. Just kind of brief overview. This is we all know Gung-Ho from GI Joe. You've been I've been doing this for a long time, with with action figures, and this is one of my very early action figures. And with that, just let's talk about real quick the origin of the term gung ho. Is kind of a weird term. Is and it was first used. It was interesting. It's first used in the Second Sino-Japanese War. For you history buffs, Japan went to war a lot in the Pacific before World War II. And this was the Second Sino, which basically had included a lot of Japan versus China mainly, but then there's some Russian involvement, American and New Zealand and Australian involvement during this war. And it was a phrase that a Chinese phrase, gong hei, which means work together, and that became gung ho, just as English speakers began using the term. But it was an idea of working together towards a common goal. And it was used as a motivational phrase for workers in what was called the Chinese industrial cooperatives, which was basically industries that European and American interests helped set up during the war in China to provide goods and services to fight the Japanese. So it's kind of a semi-patriotic thing for the Chinese, and that. And then the term was picked up by a Marine Corps major named Evans Carlson, that he had been working in the cooperatives, and had heard this term, and he asked. There was a New Zealand gentleman there that he was working with. He was like, "What does this word mean? This gung ho thing?" And he says, "This is basically to describe the work ethic that he observed in the industrial cooperatives, and convey the idea of enthusiastically working towards a common goal." So later on, Evans used that phrase gung ho as the motto of the 2nd Marine Raider Battalion while he was commanding it during the Pacific oncoming during World War II. And it's one of the things that since then has just stuck, and it's become a phrase that's been closely associated with the Marine Corps. And it means and it's kind of taken on a different meaning. It's now kind of been used to mean overly enthusiastic. And it's that's its common usage today. And usually in the Marines, we kind of use a little bit disparagingly now to describe somebody that's like really excited about Marine Corps things. So it means over enthusiastic. So come along later, G.I. Joe, remember it launched in the 60s, but then in the 80s, it came down to the 3 3/4 inch versions of it. And so in 1982, when I was a lad, it came out, and I got some from that series 1 in the beginning, and then series 2 came out in 1983, and Gung-Ho, the figure of Gung-Ho, was released as part of that series as the first Marine. Where back then in the beginning, they weren't, even though they all had code names, they weren't referred to in the packaging of the code name. They were referred to as their job, infantryman, mortarman, bazooka man, and for yes, the hazard on a Marine was just a Marine, no matter what they did. So, but since his debut in 1983, there have been 24 versions of the 3 3/4 inch line between 1983 and 2015, which was when the last 3 3/4 inch Gung-Ho figure was released. With that, and they all varied over the years, with sometimes with some consistency, sometimes with very little consistency among how the character looked. Now, his first comic book appearance was in G.I. Joe Real American Hero number 11, which is the famous appearance. I think that's also the first appearance of Destro, who's another favorite character of mine. But it was he was portrayed there. He put him in that, in his look. He's look at the figure. He's got he doesn't wear a shirt because he's got a large Marine Corps tattoo on it. He wears like a flag jacket with no shirt, and it's an Arctic issue. And here's this guy, this Marine, running around in the in the Arctic with no shirt on. Since he's had multiple appearances in cartoons, excuse me, and other merchandising, cartoons, the cartoon movie, sort of animated movies, not the live action movies, merchandising, lunchboxes, all kinds of stuff. And he's often portrayed when he does get a chance to shine, or put up front as a larger than life character befitting the mythology created by the Marine Corps. Hammond and others are portraying him with his. He's from New Orleans, as a more Cajun. Sometimes he'd have a thick Cajun accent. Sometimes he's doing when things are falling apart. He runs in with his. He's like really strong. He never gives up. He's constantly overcoming and adapting to situations. Again, it's that they really leaned into the myth of Marines when creating this character. So why is it that this is an important character for me personally? Well, so to kind of go back a little bit, again, I was born in 1972. So by the time I was 5 years old, this phenomenon called Star Wars had hit the nation, and as with me and all my friends, we were just ate up with Star Wars. That's what we wanted for Christmas, birthdays. You're going through the store, they're dragging you away from the display stands because that's what you want. Every time you could get it, scrape $2 together, you're buying a Stormtrooper or a Luke Skywalker. It was just an amazing. Now, my father, he came from a generation that was kind of pre that, wasn't very. Didn't have a lot of money. I kind of had to scrape, and so most of his toys were handmade. The entertainment at that time was more leaning more towards westerns and things like that. So when this science fiction phenomena hit, this idea of toys built around that's kind of not something he didn't quite understand, and so he kind of felt like he didn't. When it came to that kind of stuff, that I was more concerned with science fiction than the realities of the world, type of deal. But I'm 5 years old, 7 years old. So when G.I. Joe hit in 1982, I was 9 years old. I turned 10, and for my birthday, I didn't get a single Star Wars figure. Which is I think it's the height of Empire Strikes Back. I'd gotten some the years previously for Christmas, then rolling into 82. So, but what I did get is I got the Mobat tank, then the Whirlwind twin guns, rock and roll. I got rock and roll, and I got short fuse, and Zap, and they were all the straight armed ones. And this new G.I. Joe thing had launched, and this was finally, which was great because my dad loved military stuff, and that's kind of where this came from. So it was new line G.I. Joe, and I became fascinated with G.I. Joe at that time too. So it became that's what I wanted from that point forward. For Christmas, I wanted G.I. Joe, and allowances I wanted G.I. Joe, and that's traditionally when kids got G.I. Joe stuff was during that time. So so with that, there wasn't a whole lot of getting a toy just because it was birthdays, Christmases, special occasions, visiting grandparents or something like that, or you earned an allowance and then and maybe that's how the only time you got something that was in between on a special occasion. So this idea of purposely going out and buying a toy for a kid just because was not a thing in my house. So my counterparts, that was a thing in their house sometimes, but not mine. And so going into 1983, now I'm starting to I'm 10 years old now, and that was kind of, for some people, they kind of thought that was kind of the age where now you're getting the preteens. It's kind of stop you with the kids' toys things and that as a kid. So it's kind of this weird people, especially my family, weird limbo because I still loved action figures and Star Wars. I still have my Star Wars collection of stuff. Now I started with the G.I. Joe. This wasn't really an idea of collecting either, but it was happening. We were building it together. So still, there's also, I still love science fiction. That was kind of like my main goal. I love some fantasy stuff, It just really wasn't in those areas, I really didn't connect with my father on. A little bit with G.I. Joe, but not so much, because it was just one of those things, you work on, just kind of weird. So one day I remember I'm at home and Dad comes in and he says, "I got something for you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, oh, that's cool. That's unusual. That doesn't always just happen." And he handed me the carded Gung-Ho figure, and the reason why he got it is my father, he didn't talk about it much because this was before he was pre-Vietnam era with this, and it was and because of some other things that happened in his childhood and young adult, he just didn't talk about that area a lot. But one thing he did talk, we knew about him, was that he had served in the Marine Corps for a couple of years, and so that was so whenever like the Saturday movie came on, it was a war movie, and if it was like a Marine Corps movie, I would watch it with him and stuff like that. And so that was kind of like a connection. That's kind of where I started getting my fascination with the military and the Marine Corps specifically with that. So he comes home and he hands me this carded G.I. Joe figure, and it was Gung-Ho, the Series 1 Marine. And the reason why he got it was, for two things is, one, it said Marine right on there. So there's no ambiguity what the figure was supposed to be. And that'd been the first time he'd ever seen, probably outside of maybe G.I. Joe when he was too old for it and I wasn't there yet. I'm an action figure of a Marine. And then it said Gung-Ho on it, and then he flipped over, read the file card, and the file card was you go to like yojo.com, something like that, and look at this file card, the original Hama file card. It was just basically stereotypical Marine stuff that Marines were known for. And so it was really the first out of the blue action figure my father ever bought for me. And it was something we kind of bonded over. And I kept that thing for you. I had, after, as you go through the G.I. Joe collection, you remember the vintage years of it. I've had a lot of favorite Joes and Cobras. It's just one of these things that it just happens, and some they get pushed to the back of the toy box sometimes. But Gung-Ho always found a place on whatever team I was running somehow. When I would go to put together stuff, even as I got older, and I wasn't so much. As I into my teens, I still collected, and that caused some contention with my family, my father especially, because as you become a teenager, you're not supposed to buy that stuff. But Joe was still going on, and I was still fascinated with it, a lot of it. And the comic book, I read that to the dismay. Why are you 15-year-old shouldn't be reading comic books? You should be thinking about these other things and doing these other things. And no matter how big my collection got, Gung-Ho was always there. When I was in 6th grade, heck, I used to keep Gung-Ho in my backpack at school, to go along with me. He was always there with me. And then as you go along, I get older, and things get put in boxes, and you get older, and eventually at the age of 17, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. And I do credit, a lot of that to my father, and a lot of that to my, my upbringing and thing. But I do credit some of that to G.I. Joe, and especially Larry Hama, and he didn't sugarcoat a lot of what military life was like in the comic. There was some outrageous things because it's a toy. It was a comic based on a toy, and you got to sell the toys. But he would sprinkle things in there about the realities of service and self sacrifice to your country. That when I entered the Marine Corps, I had a more realistic view of what it was going to be like and what I was doing. And so to show you that this is and that's the dress blue Gung-Hos. I never got that figure. I never found it on the shelf. I had a buddy that had one of those, but I never had it. But that is my boot camp photo right there. I don't often share that photo because now after let's see, I was 18 there. I'm 52 now, so after nearly a long time, I don't want people to accuse me of being the guy that ate that guy. So I don't often show that photo, but that was kind of one of the things I kept in the back of my mind. That I was gung-ho, that I was going to be gung-ho. And I had that enthusiasm about the Marine Corps and things Marine as I get there. So flash forward through a bunch of things. Time passes on. My original Gung-Ho, the O-ring breaks. He gets lost, through many moves as I moved from childhood to adulthood. And during my time in Marine Corps, that stuff was packed away. Then I move, and through several moves, he gets broken and never repaired him. And eventually I lost the original figure. Over time, I used to have all the file cards. I lost figures over the years. I used to have all the file cards. Eventually, I lost the file cards as well in the move. I got the 2015, the 25th anniversary, Joe, of Gung-Ho, because that was a very great reproduction of Gung-Ho. And we had some financial. I want to talk in another video down the road about that. We had some financial issues in our family a few years back, and I wound up selling a lot of my G.I. Joe collection to keep vehicles running, keep the lights on, keep my children fed, things like that. And I had divided it down, and eventually that Gung-Ho was one of the last ones I let go of, and it was because it was for whatever reason that Gung-Ho was commanding a very good price. When I sold it, so it I didn't want to let it go. I wound up letting it go, but it wound up helping my family. So you can see now as I go through, I don't have a lot of 3 3/4 inch figures, but I do have a lot of 6 inch figures now. So I was very excited when Hasbro now started doing their classified lines. There was going to be a Gung-Ho figure in it, and so I waited, and it came out. And I got it. And needless to say, I was disappointed in it because I really wanted a representation. I know there's arguments about back and forth of, do we go with a more modern interpretation or an updated, or do we just rehash the classic figures? Well, this is one figure that I really said we need to rehash the classic on it, and that was just my selfishness, right there. So when they produced the classified Gung-Ho, and it was not a good figure. And a lot of people I know complain about it. And it wasn't just the failings of early classifieds. But they didn't get simple things like his cover is what we call it in the Marine Corps. Right? It was like a regular ball cap type deal. And I understand the chest tattoo. A lot of that is that I know the Marine Corps has trademarked a lot since then, and especially the Eagle Globe and Anchor is trademarked to the Marine Corps. So if you want to use the Eagle Globe and Anchor on anything, you have to get their permission to do it. You have to pay a licensing fee to do that. And, which I would think that a company like Hasbro, you got the money to license the Marine Corps emblem for an action figure. That it's the least you can do, for the United States Marine Corps, but they didn't. So they came up with their own tattoo, which I'm fine with that. I'm not going to, go in. I know there's some folks you can remove it and you water slide it on there, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to do that. But the figure was very disappointing. The weapons were horrible. Didn't even fit the guy. They couldn't even store in the backpack where they were meant to. And his hands like that. So I was like, man. But I really wanted a Gung-Ho in my collection, and I got that one. And then they came out with the retro carded. one, and I couldn't wait to get. I couldn't wait to get this. I didn't order it online anywhere because they said this was going to be on store shelves. It came out, and all I could find originally of them was all there was I think it was a Baroness and Destro were in that wave, and they were Baroness and Destro were on the shelves. You can see that all the time. Then eventually, I found one of them. I found the Gung-Ho, which is this one right here. And yeah, it's got some fun, but it's as close as we're going to get, I think, in the 6-inch to the original Gung-Ho. So I finally got a Gung-Ho back in my collection, and he's going to stay in my collection as long as I can keep him. I don't know if things become where one day I may have to sell them again, but I always want to keep in my G.I. Joe collection, no matter whether it's 3 1/4 inch or 6-inch or 12-inch, a Gung-Ho, because that is a connection to my past, and not only to my father past, but also the past of why I joined the Marine Corps to serve our country. And when I want the best representation of it. Now I know Hiya Toys is doing 3 3/4 inch Joes now. I've looked at the Gung-Ho figure that they have, which is sold out. I don't like it. It's basically just a scaled down version of the classifieds Gung-Ho. It's basically the same uniform. They just painted the vest blue. I even did for the old classifieds one. Actually, I was going to pull that out and look at it, but right now it's in a box of other figures in my trade my trade fodder. Once I got that new carded one, that was it. That's my definitive Gung-Ho for my collection now. I even bought the Valverse declassified pack. That was to kind of fix that Gung-Ho, and it still didn't work. It still didn't look good. So I'd use it to kibash another Valverse figure out of. But that's the thing is with Gung-Ho. That's why I have them. That's one part of the collection that was more than just added to the line. It's or just something I automatically got just to keep the collection going. It's one that has purpose and has meaning for me. And that other Joes come and go there, and I like. There's other figures I like a lot better than the Gung-Ho figure, the look of. But that Gung-Ho figure, like I said, it's always going to be the touchstone figure for me. In G.I. Joe. So with that, that's the end of this episode. Tales of Tales of Collecting Gung-Ho. So I want to put this up. Please do the things. All the things you're supposed to do on YouTube. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. My last video, the first of this new series I did, has done very well, but nobody's commenting on it. And that's okay. If you like it, don't like it, tell me what you don't like. This is a new learning experience for me as I'm building these videos. I'm nowhere near where I want it to. My next journey is I'm going to try to focus on editing a little bit, maybe doing some intros and outros, things like that, as I evolve this. So feedback is welcome. It always is. So I look forward next time, next episodes. I think in the future I've got my next thing is I'm getting close to the my Iron Man collection of the models 1 through 13 of the Iron Man armor in Marvel Legends. Then I have a second Adventures in Collecting post where I'm going to talk about some signed comic books I got and how I got those. And then a few other things I've got in the works I'm working on right now. So if you've hung on this long, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.